Hello, this will be the video about e-bike that I made myself, how I got there, planning, building, and conclusion, as well as how that could possibly apply to you. We will start with a bit of a story. I wanted to do an upgrade to Fido e-bike and was thinking of a different motor and battery, but doing those would cost more than if I just went and bought a brand new e-bike. As well as instead of two bikes, I would have upgraded Fido and then old parts that I had no use for. So I set up a goal, what I want from a new e-bike. I decided that I want a bigger battery, the bigger the range the better. I want to explore the forests and the villages around. A powerful motor. I don't want to fly around all the time, but in time of need, the e-bike must reach 50 kilometers an hour so I could keep up with the cars. Dual suspension, because I never had a bike like that, so why not? Also, the lighter the better. And cost up to 1200 euros. And it should be about the same size when folded as Fido. I've been searching for months. The closest I got was this fat bike. Everything was good except it was a fat bike, and at that moment I wanted a silent bike. And seeing those around and how much noise they produce, how they sounded like a bomber plane. And then I told my friend about the struggle that I had. And he said, well, you should do like Linus Torvalds. If you can't find what you need, build your own. And I said, yeah, haha, sure. But then it got me thinking, I have the basic knowledge about e-bikes that I can expand thanks to YouTube. I got the money in time, and that's not a terrible idea. I made the initial sketches and then started the planning phase. With those sketches in mind, I started my AliExpress surfing. It took me several weeks to find the frame that I liked. At first I wanted to fit into the budget, but then I started leaning towards thoughts that I deserve better than the cheapest parts. So I started looking for the best value instead. So instead of cheap disc brakes, I went for hydraulic ones. Instead of cheap suspension, air suspension. Instead of 7-speed cassette, 10-speed cassette. Even though 10-speed cassette backfired on me, to be honest. More about this later. Then the folding part. The frames that I liked were made for 26-inch wheels. My rough estimates say that that won't work for me. I wanted my bike to fit into elevators, so 20-inch wheels were chosen. Then another problem rises. With 20-inch wheels, you will hit asphalt with the pedals. I figured that installing a custom link and fork for 29-inch wheels would do it for me. Once I got my frame, I decided that I better make a 3D model in Fusion 360 and start more precise planning. I'm glad that I did that. With 3D model, I could set the clearance for pedals that I wanted and then build the required suspension link from that. There I could also predict the length of the fork required, as well as where I could fit the battery. You could ask, why place the battery on top of the frame while this frame supports battery inside it? Answer is, I wanted a bigger battery, as well as I don't know what future holds. Maybe solid-state batteries will be triangular, and having it on top give it freedom to be of any shape, as well as it looks like fuel tank of a motorcycle. Ultimately, that's why I went for mid motor. I wanted to return to motorcycle without returning to motorcycles themselves. So, half a year later. Now that I have most of the parts, I started assembling the bike. I bought the tools, so most of the bike I assembled myself, except for the inserting anchor inside the fork. As it is one-time event, I went to nearest bike shop so they could do it for me. Ordering parts blindly has its risks. The 10-piece cassette I've been talking about earlier has such a long arm that it reaches the road with 20-inch wheels. I also messed up my measurements about the fork, so the fork is a bit shorter than it should be. The bike does not stand when folded, as well as the angle at which it is aimed towards the road is about 71 degrees, while it should be about 73, I think. Or maybe the fork is just crap. This is my first air fork, and overall I do not like it. I will share the Excel file where I listed all the parts that I ordered, their prices, time it took to get them, as well as links to actual parts. I wanted to talk about all the parts in this bike one by one, but this will take too much time and it's not needed, so I shorten it to just highlights. The seat is superb in both feel and look. Rear suspension unit. Lots of adjustments that actually work. The motor is highly adjustable and has a ton of torque. 1 kilowatt of peak power. The front and back light is also great. The fenders that I modified with some kitchen silicone sheet block most of the water and keeps my legs clean. Only the finest water dust reaches me. As everything was handpicked by me to my needs, everything else is just as great as I expected them to be. The parts I'm disappointed in are the fork. Maybe it's just what air forks are. Internet articles confirms it. But it's not as plush as I was hoping for, and ignoring small bumps and cracks, delivering them into my arms. The 8-speed cassette that I ordered is made of aluminum, it seems, and already showed its wear after 600 kilometers. Another disappointment are lazy seals for front caliper. I tried everything to make it brake properly, but as of right now, it still is an ongoing battle. I would like also to point out how deep the customization of this motor is. At first I tried desktop app, but I would rather suggest Android app instead. You would need the adapter to connect the motor to your phone, but afterwards it works much more reliably than desktop app, as well as you can tweak your bike on a go. The app is called Speed, and here is a quick video about what's inside. You can change wheel size, power modes, the power levels inside those modes, pedal assist, and so on. I must say I played it with pedal assist. I tried to set it up, but I was not satisfied with results. I did not plan to use it as I like Throttle much more, for a proper hybrid of a human and machine. I pedal all the time, but sometimes I want to exercise and have no assist at all. Or maybe there's a hill and I don't feel like climbing it myself, so I let the motor do most of the work. Pedal assist just feels very limiting to me. So what are the results? For the most part, this is the best bike for me. I love it. It's dead silent on good roads, thin tires roll very efficiently, while suspension eats most of the bumps, and high speed feels very reassuring. It fits into elevator as planned, it fits into my bicycle corner as planned. The range is between 80 and 120 kilometers, depending on speed. But even when the battery dies, it feels like any other bike. Only on hills you feel the need of assistance. At first I thought it ended up quite heavy, but if we compare it to other bikes, if they are lighter, they have much less power and range, and if they have the same power, they are a few kilograms heavier, and even then they usually do not have fenders and locks. Mine is about 26 kilograms, but as complete package with mirror, fenders, locks, lights, and so on. The cost though, it ended up almost 2,000 euros, but then again, if we compare it with big brands, you have to pay a few thousands more for the same result. In conclusion, would I recommend doing it for you? It depends. I would say I see 3 possible scenarios. The first is where you don't have a bike of any kind and you want to enter the bicycling world. You don't have much knowledge about it as well. Here I would suggest to just buy some pre-assembled e-bike that fits to your budget, and then swap the parts you don't like. This would be the most efficient route. Second is when you have a regular bike that you absolutely love and want to try e-bike. Here I think that you should buy mid-motor like one I got. And for 600-800 euros you will get much more power and range than any pre-assembled bike would give you. And if you get tired of it, you can just swap it back and install motor somewhere else. Third is what I have. I had very specific needs that were not met by any manufacturer. Bikes are either too big, heavy and non-folding, or light and useless, with barely any assistance and range. So assembling one makes sense here. Ideally, if you would have a donor frame. I found the frame business as the most sketchy part. Even though the choice is huge on AliExpress, it's better when you can see and measure the frame and have a better picture of the end result. After that, it's just a big Lego kit. So what's next? Well, I like the pike, I would still want to fix the fork. I plan to order a downhill fork for 29-inch wheels again. That has this double spider or whatever it's called thing that allows to move fork legs up and down. That way I can set it up properly so the bike would fold as it should. I would also try oil and spring fork this time. Internet says that they are more sensitive to small road imperfections, and that's exactly what I need. Then I would also want to try 60 teeth sprocket at front, so that would give me about 13% taller gear ratios. With that, I hope I would use my cassette more, as right now I mostly use 4 highest cogs on cassette. Last bit, but highly unlikely, is maybe I would do something about handlebars. They are nice and folding, but not truly comfortable on longer rides. Back home I tried converting hybrid bike to gravel bike with drop bars, handlebars. And it works. I thought I would install drop bars on this one as well, but I would mess up the cable management and throttle control, and it just feels a bit too much. Besides this bike, I plan to order another e-bike for my mom. I'm leaning towards fat tire bike, so for her it's more stable and comfy, and for me I could use it during the winter. I installed Knobby tires on this bike, and it works, but it's just too narrow for deep snow. Even though it's fun to do burnouts with this motor. I also placed order for Steam Deck. Maybe I'll do a video about that as well, but I'm not sure. I'm very slow with the video creation. I have high hopes for its touch controls. No one seems to really showcase it. Everyone uses thumbsticks, which I personally hate. And I think that will be it. Hope you find this useful, ride safe, and have a great day.